Hello, and welcome to today's Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. I'd like to talk in this particular video about immigration in general. Now, as you know, the attacks by Trump on immigration are never ending. One day, the Supreme Court rules that DACA can continue and that uh, Trump's decision to end it was arbitrary and capricious, meaning he did it without any real good reason. There is bans on multiple countries from their people coming into the U.S., and we all know the real reason behind that. It's just racism. It has nothing to do with national security or safety. The non-immigrant work visas, many of them have been limited from coming into the U.S. at this point, H-2B, H-1B, J-1s. The CDC has essentially been weaponized to enact a law which came about over 50 years ago to pretend to allow Border Patrol to pretend that's the reason they're turning kids and women and families who have real asylum claims around at the border without adjudicating anything. Families and children are being put in cages. Children are being detained. People are dying of COVID in the detention facilities. The due process of immigrants is being eroded day by day. And the list goes on and on. I could do a video about all of the ways which Trump has attempted to denigrate immigrants, to remove due process and constitutionally protected rights from immigrants. The way, for example, in immigration courts, the new immigration judges coming in and the BIA judges coming in are basically just puppets of Trump that do not really adjudicate cases, but just use it as a platform to deny and deport. The decisions by the Attorney General, where he has vacated years of good case law and put in put in cases to deny rights to immigrants which have no real explanation other than an attempt to make it seem real. So why do I go into all of this? Why do I discuss in brevity all of the immigration due process and constitutional violations and chipping away at immigration law itself of this particular administration? And there's a reason. In approximately 80 days, November 3rd, there is going to be voting, not just for the President of the United States, but for senators, for congressional people in the House. And basically, it is time to get, number one, the president out of power, because unless you essentially want a white racist America that closes immigration off from the world from coming in the US, which, as we know, as anyone knows, this is a nation of immigrants. It is a multicultural melting pot of the world that has come here. It is a beacon of freedom. And that's all being dimmed and taken away by this president day by day. It amazes me sometimes how you think it can't get any worse, and the next day something else happens. But the U.S. citizens have a great deal of power. When you think about it, the House impeached the president, and that took a lot of work, a lot of time. Then, of course, it went to the Senate, and of course, Mitch McConnell stopped any witnesses from coming in. Just think about it, a trial to convict someone where witnesses are not and evidence are not permitted. Think about that. Turning it essentially into a puppet court. And that's what has happened with the United States. And so the power that people like me, like you, that all the US citizens have is going to the voting booth. In fact, it's one of the greatest powers that a democracy has. Now, of course, we all know that Trump is trying to stop and limit that as well by installing the head of the post office who put in tons of regulations that slow things down and laid people off and all that. But when it comes right down to it, we the people can vote the president out of office. We don't need to go through impeachment. We don't need to go through the circus that Mitch McConnell and his fellow senators uh, went through to stop a fair trial. No, all we have to do is vote. And that can be done from the comfort of your own home. You get the absentee ballot, regardless of how Trump says it's going to be fake. We all know it's not. So you get the absentee ballot, you vote who you want, it goes in, and that is the power of democracy. That is how we, the people, will speak and use our voice and use democracy to change the course of America as it is currently headed, because it's not heading in a good direction. We all know that it's not. Um, the simple act of voting will change that. The simple act of voting will change the president, will remove, hopefully, the senators who would not stand for law but hid behind Trump and everything he did, which history will tell and show how corrupt it was, and will show how day by day democracy started disappearing with one man, and how the senators allowed him to do it. So all the people who are in power, who did not stand up for the Constitution, for the United States, but hid and cowered in a corner while Trump did everything he could, they all need to be voted out of power. And you, the American citizen, need to go to the polls and need to vote and need to get all these people out of power so that democracy can show its number one duty and privilege, and that's voting for people to help run our country. So if you're listening to this and you're not a US citizen, find someone who is, whether it's your kids, who are, of course, 18 or older, whether or not it's your friends. You get everybody to vote because everybody matters. It might only be a few thousand votes in some places that will determine the power structure in Washington. So every vote matters. And that's why I'm taking the time to make this particular video not on an individualized immigration subject, which I've done so many of, but in a plea to get you and anyone you know to go and vote and to use the democratic power which was given to you, and in my opinion, the greatest power, because we all can change this. We all can go to the voting booth and we can let our voices cumulatively be heard to get this man out of power and to get the people who follow him out of power. So, given that, I hope that a few of you who might have been on the fence as to whether to vote or not, will actually go and vote and know that you are exercising democracy as it was meant to be exercised. And hopefully, come November 3rd, the beacon of America will shine again, and we will start integrating again into the world structure and world economy. Okay, if you like the video, click like, subscribe. More on the coming videos. Thank you.